Welcome to the Sustainable Success Show, where we share real-world ideas, strategies, and systems to help you build success that lasts in business and life. Each episode delivers practical insights you can apply immediately without burnout, chaos, or short-term fixes that don't scale. At the foundation is emotional intelligence and effective communication, how you lead yourself and how you connect with others across personalities, generations, and cultures, because that's where trust, engagement, and performance are created. I'm Christopher Salem, your host, and this is where sustainable success becomes your competitive advantage. Hi, my name is Chris Salem, your host of Sustainable Success. You found us here on our new platform. Yes, now we are January of 2026 going forward. We have a video format to our show. Yes, after over 8.5 years, we've been on the airwaves, starting with internet radio back in May of 2017. You could strictly only listen to us at the time on Voice America Business Channel. Well, at the time, it was the Influencer Channel. And now it's you were able to then listen on Apple, Spotify, iHeart. But guess what? We are still on all those platforms: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and now Amazon Music as well. You can listen to us anywhere there, and now for the first time on YouTube, where you can actually see our faces. Yes. So feel free to subscribe to any of those areas that you feel that you want to engage in the content each and every week. And we have a new time now, Fridays now at 12 noon East Coast time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We also encourage you to follow us on Facebook at Sustainable Success 2017. There, we've had many of our great guests sharing their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate you and your business or anything in life pertaining to sustainability when it comes to success. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it is a membership program taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. If you'd like more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show today. We're going to be talking about trusting the whispers, leaving traditional healthcare, and writing the book that wouldn't let go. And in this episode, we're going to have our subject matter expert with us, Dr. Lauren Hartman, and she's going to share from a deep level her personal journey that led to her to leave a large healthcare systems, build her own practice, and ultimately write her book, which you're going to be hearing insights from. And what began as a leap of self-trust evolved into a learning how to listen to quiet whispers, guiding her towards more aligned work. And what she shares today may align with you listening to your own whispers that can now inspire you to take action towards your purpose and passion. A little bit about Dr. Lauren Hartman before we start. She is a physician, entrepreneur, and author who left traditional healthcare to create a more aligned, patient-centered practice. Her work centers on self-trust, intuition, and redefining success in medicine and life. Through her book, which you'll find out more about today and where to get it, and practice, she helps others reconnect with their inner guidance and build lives and careers rooted in sustainability, purpose, and integrity. And without further ado, we welcome Dr. Lauren Hartman to the show. Hi, Dr. Lauren.
Hi, I'm so thrilled to be here and to be talking about this. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you. You know, before we begin to get into trusting those whispers, like what you could share that could inspire people to kind of tune in, without the distractions and that the noise going on in their head, how they can start to really tune into those whispers that are sharing with them the direction they should be following. Share with us your journey that allowed you to trust these whispers and what inspired you to leave just successful healthcare career to do what you're doing today.
So I will start by saying that for those of you who are listening who are not physicians, I can say that physicians tend to be quite risk averse. So, we get kind of comfy in our system. And, it was one of the things that actually drew me to medicine is the idea of, okay, you get on into medical school and then you're going to pick your residency and then you basically are going to have a job for the most part. And it just felt so secure. And so, I really started my career like most others of, really just kind of going through the motions of what is the thing I'm supposed to do next. And for most specialties, that means be in a large healthcare system, a large, comfy, cozy healthcare system that's going to take care of all the things that us dumb doctors don't know about, like billing and all those other things. So, I spent most of my career until 2 years ago in a large healthcare system, which I would describe as kind of an 8-lane highway until, well, it was actually, when COVID hit was really when, volume tripled in my specialty. I'm an adolescent medicine doctor, so I take care of mostly teens and young people who are battling eating disorders and other struggles. And I just really got to the point where I had to take a break.
Wow. And what you said, like I said, that takes a lot of guts. You spent all this time in a career, you went to medical school, you did all that, you committed towards taking care of people and just realized that, hey, I gotta listen to myself. If I'm gonna better serve people, I have to really be first serve myself. And so I love what you shared. What would you say from your journey? And I know you probably talk about this in your book, and you're more than welcome to share that. What could be some things you could share, some insights with the listeners today that might be maybe hearing this show right now and saying, oh my God, is this possible? Could I walk away from a law career? Could I walk away from a career as a CPA or as a doctor or a dentist or whatever that may be, that I could pursue something I've always wanted to do, but just felt like it just wasn't possible. I couldn't, it felt like it was just a hobby, and I didn't envision it that I could make a living from it but honor what was really important to me. If you could share some insights, I think that would be highly valuable to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say if you had put it on a pro con list of like leaving or staying, there were so many practical reasons to stay. In terms of large student debt that you have from medical school, and you get a pension or some of these more secure things that just really do feel good. And I think, however, there's also this element of forgetting you have choice, like forgetting you could leave. And I think I really did forget I could leave. And then, you know, once I started to, it was like a little bit of a window opened. There was a little bit of light where I was like, huh, wait a second. I could leave. I kind of forgot I could leave. And I also felt like, am I going to be abandoning people if I leave? But once I started to see that little bit of light, it was really hard to close that window. And it was really hard to unsee it. And then I started to, in my more scientific brain, think to myself, well, let me just start to collect a little bit of data about how it feels in my day to day. And not that I have to make any decision. I was so far from making a decision to leave, but I just started to get a little bit more curious. How is this next meeting going to go? Like, I really need these things for my career to be sustainable and for me to stay here. Let me see how that meeting goes. That meeting didn't go well. That was good data, and I was just really kind of collecting data and starting to learn to listen to myself and learn to not shut off the messages that I had been seeing, but I was too afraid to listen to earlier on.
Wow. I love that. And such great information. Now, when you made this decision, it was, probably okay, you made a choice, but it wasn't like maybe it did, but was there like a point where like you transitioned, like you did a little bit at a time, or it was just like, hey, I'm making the decision and I'm going in, full circle, like immediately, or it was something you transitioned in? Because some people might be in different situations where they may have to transition over a certain period of time versus just dropping everything on a cusp and jumping in with 2 feet?
I'm so glad you asked that because there was quite the messy middle. And if you had told me that there was going to be a messy middle, I don't think I would have taken that leap because I really wanted it to be a safe choice that I was jumping into. And it turned out that I had to leave my job and I went into a new job and I thought like, okay, this has got to be it because it was so hard to leave. And the fact that I left, like, I got to go into this. It was a startup. And I was like, this has got to be the next thing. And this is going to be amazing. And it wasn't. It wasn't for me. And I think sometimes I think for those listening, like the middle step doesn't have to be the ultimate step. It actually can sometimes be the most important step you need to really get to the ultimate step. And it wasn't, if I hadn't left, I never would have been able to leave the second thing so quickly. But I had already kind of gone through that exercise of somewhat like loosening the knot that I had in me. And then I was kind of like, oh, I'm actually a free agent, and these are my days. And so therefore, I knew I suddenly had agency that I could use. And it's like, oh, if this isn't it, I'm not going to stay here just because I made the leap. I'm now going to continue to bet on myself and go with that path rather than feeling like this has to be it.
Wow. I love that. And I hope everybody listening can understand it. You're going to have your own unique situation and where you're at. The key is just knowing that you have this choice. You have, it's not like, hey, this is my life and this is way it's going to be. There's always a choice. And sometimes it's not easy. And sometimes it's, when you do make this choice, you might be, did I do the right thing? Why did I walk away from a proven model? And I had all this security on the back end, yet I'm doing what I'm doing now and I'm not making enough money yet. And you get all these things happening, but nonetheless, something inside of you just keeps sharing with you. You made the right choice. Keep moving forward. Talk about that if you had, maybe when you made that decision, were there doubts? Were there like, did you second guess yourself? But again, something kept telling you from within to keep going, keep persevering, and that you were on the right path.
Absolutely. I'm going to answer that with two parts. The first is I do think that it's important for people to listen because I wish someone had said this to me, that there is a bit of a myth of security in wherever you are now. I thought that the system would make me would be safe, and I realized that there was some bit of a fallacy to that. And actually nothing is guaranteed. And that the security actually came from trusting myself, not to say like every decision had to be perfect, but whatever decision I made, I could trust that I could reach out to people I knew who I could ask their advice about. I trusted that I can always pivot. I trusted that I could be flexible. So I think there is a trust in that just felt really helpful in terms of propelling me forward. And then I'm glad you mentioned the propelling me forward because I think the doubt is huge. And I wish I could tell every listener, and it's gone for me. So you do these three things. It's going to continue to come up. There are going to be ongoing challenges where that doubt is going to present itself, and it certainly does for me. And I will say that the thing that at least has helped me, and maybe it could help some people listening, is action. Like, I do think when we are sitting still in our doubt, we can really swirl. And when we are, okay, maybe you've started a business and it's quiet. Okay, maybe I can do a newsletter and start working on that piece. And there's something about action that can really be an antidote to the anxiety. And it feels like, okay, I'm at least moving forward, and that each step is going to be revealing of what the next step is.
Wow. Let that sink in, everybody. I mean, I can tell you I've been there before, Dr. Lauren. I remember at the time, I remember when I left corporate to go into my own business. Well, in this case, that was out of default. I had been laid off as an executive in the advertising industry, and I ended up going in, starting a media company from scratch with somebody I worked with, or actually I had worked for at the time. We were like, he was above me and I was just below. We were upper level, and we were bought out by another media group, and obviously they downsized from the top down. They wanted to bring their own people with that, and that, I learned a lot from that experience. And then I remember walking away from my own business to go into what I do today, and I don't make what I used to make back in that business, but yet I'm content, I'm happier, I'm more fulfilled. It allowed me to be a dad to my son, who at the time was 5 years old. And if I had stayed in what I was doing, I would have been home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did it, maybe share some of the insights, what it, did for you, maybe with on, what I always call it harmony, like what it did for your personal life, your family, how that plays a role in, and how it can help to, I don't like to use the word balance, but it kind of just a lot realigns other areas of your life that are just as important.
I mean, that piece is huge because I think when you are besides your own time, when you're in a job that in your deepest core is not right, and there's like a misalignment there, besides the fact that it's taking up your time, it's taking up your energy and it's taking up your joy. And, our kids and our homes like really do feel that. But, one of the things that I think was really helpful to me was, asking myself the question, how do I want to feel? Like with this next step, like how do I actually want to feel? And I think when we can kind of dial down that a little bit, into whether that be your values or actually, like for me, it was really like physically, like how do I want to physically feel? It can really guide you, because I think for me, I just really appreciated the feeling of like spaciousness. I felt very constricted in my body in my former job. I felt like I was being controlled and doing things and grinding, and it felt really kind of tight and constricted. And I really have been able to continue to ask myself, okay, how do I want to, is this feeling spacious? If it's not, then it's not going to be the right path. And to your point, I mean, with the balance, and I appreciate us being thoughtful about using that word because it's a bit of a fallacy, the balance.
Sometimes balance can be exhausting to maintain, but that's why we say harmony, like a seesaw teeters. It's never
It's a
like,
harmony. It's a harmony. And as you know, especially when you're starting something that's your own, I
yeah.
mean, it's all like, it's not like I'm not spending a lot of time on my practice or on my book, but it's different because it's my choice and it feels different. It physically feels different than like when I was working from 8:30 to 6:30 and working on nights and weekends. Like that felt different than what this feels like. And so it allows me to make choices of like, I have and I know not everyone has this privilege, but I can decide like, Fridays, I don't want to work. I don't work on Fridays. And so, I can have some bit of agency in figuring out like, because that feels good to me. That feels spacious. And, that's continued to help guide me and give me time with my family, with my kids. And as we know, time just goes too fast. So
goes by so quick. It really does. And even though time goes quick, I've noticed in the last, what now going on 14 years, when I made this transition from from the media business now into coaching, consulting. I've been a professional speaker for 26 years. I've been doing that for a long time. And then obviously doing a radio show host now for almost 9 years. I even though time is, I enjoyed time. Like I didn't enjoy my time when I was doing the other stuff. It was all just about work and getting the numbers. And I missed out on so many other important things that I took for granted. And now, thank God, I'm 58 years old, going on 59. And I can honestly say that I'm grateful. Like I've been able to enjoy those pockets of time that I would have not have had if I kept doing what I was doing.
yeah. And I appreciate you saying you're grateful, because I think one of the things that happened to me was I looked back of like, oh my gosh, how did I let 10 years go by in a position where I knew it wasn't right, but I just felt like this is what you have to do and this is what you're doing. And I sort of thought it was going to be lifelong. And so then I was kind of second guessing, what's wrong with me? Why didn't I know this sooner? And I think I actually have learned to just appreciate like the timing of it all. And I think that there's some bit that like it kind of has to work the way it does. I think we don't have to be so critical of ourselves, but rather just like trust the fact that like you're going to know when you know. And if that means leaving whatever you're in that's not working, like you can know that I'll know when I'm ready. I'll know when it's time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, because it really is. I mean, when you're operating your passion, and talk about the book. Like you made this transition, what you're doing now, and now you wrote a book. What did that book? What led up to the book? What was that feeling when you were actually putting it together, writing it, and now you got a publisher or you self published, whatever how you did it. Now it's out there. Like, what was that feeling, and what and what like how do you feel that maybe you're helping other people do the same?
Well, the book is such an interesting part of the story because I will tell you, even though it's related to my medical specialty, I never would have written this book when I was in healthcare because I didn't have any bit of spaciousness for myself to kind of think creatively. And so I think I needed to be where I was in order for it to even happen. I will also say I'm not a writer, I'm a doctor. It was never my intent to write a book. But so I take care of a lot of young people who struggle with body shame and weight stigma and eating disorders. And I was starting to see very similar patterns where things were happening in their lives where they felt like they needed to go on diets and change their body. And so I was initially thinking, gosh, I just need to do a training for parents and for teachers and for doctors to how to support young people. And then my sister was in the middle of a divorce and I was going to take her away for her 50th birthday. I was like, let's go on vacation. I'm taking you away. And while we were away, we met with a medium. Don't don't turn off the podcast, listener. Stick with me. But we met with this third generation medium in a yurt. I'd never met with a medium before. I'm a physician. I'm very scientific. Like if you had heard,
It's like that analytical part, and you're going, wait a minute,
I was like, I am going to be open. I'm here to learn. And this woman went kind of person by person and said, is it okay? And she's a third generation medium. And she's Scottish and red flowy hair and a white flowy outfit in a yurt at night. And she said, is it okay if I go one by one? And each person kept saying, I can't believe she knew that. I can't believe she knew that. Anyway, she got to me and she said, you're a healer, a healer. And they, meaning my ancestors who were telling her these messages, she said, they just keep saying book, book, book. And I had no idea what she was talking about. I left. My sister was like, what do you think she means? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I wrote this article. Maybe this article got published and that's why. And then I was on the airplane ride home and I thought, I was going to do a training for doctors and teachers and parents, but it probably does make more sense for this to be a book first and to give a guidance to free children and young adults from shame and scales and stigma. And so that's the title. It's Freeing Children and Young Adults from Shame, Scales, and Stigma. I was very lucky to get a publisher. The amazing thing was the medium said, book June. And I signed the contract in June, last
Wow.
June. So, but I do think about it when the book is intending to give guidance for parents and teachers and clinicians, like how to have these conversations. But ultimately, like the word about freedom is like really important for me for the patients and young people I work with to get out of this prison of diet culture. But I think about it myself of like a bit of a metaphor of like, I needed to kind of be free in order to write this book.
Wow, I love that. And like you said, Dick, you had this moment of clarity, and That's always the best thing to do. I know I did the same when I wrote my book back now. God, it's going to be 10 years at the end of this year. It's hard to believe it's been almost 10 years. And, it's 10 years now, almost 10 years. It's an international best-selling book. But it was almost like therapy for me at the same time, because it does draw from my own experiences, overcoming self-limiting beliefs, and it's helped so many people. And I was the same way. Just something said, you gotta be transparent and vulnerable and put this out there. Who cares if somebody judges you or whatever? It's going to help. It not only helped me, but it's going to help other people. And that's the way I looked at it. And I never looked back. And that book just opened up so many doors, and that was not the intention. The intention was just, I wanted to help people and help myself, and just putting that out there, because I had always had walls and barriers that I had put up. And it was only in the last, maybe 10, 12 years before that book came out that I had nipped down those walls and barriers. So, thank you for sharing that. I love hearing stories like that. And it took him a medium to kind of draw it out. I love it.
Yeah, but the way you said it too, where like it kind of had to be written, I think there's so many things where there does get to a point where we sort of like, I have no choice. Like, I don't think I could have actually stayed in my other job. Like, I felt it in me, and it was almost like I can't not listen. And I think that's what sometimes happens in these books, and like maybe there's a bit of magic in there, but like where it just kind of has to happen and has to get out there. And luckily, we were able to listen to that and move forward.
I love it. I love it. This has just been valuable information that you're sharing. I know we used to be an hour-long show, and now we're 30 minutes. God, I could keep going on with you. This is just great insight. As we near the end of the show, what would you like, if you can, before you let the audience know where to find you, what can you leave with them, like a high-impact statement? It could be 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever you like. Something that just kind of sums up and connects the dots for people to take action that can get them to trust their intuition, trust those whispers, and take action.
Well, what I would love for everybody listening is to ask themselves the question, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel in my day-to-day? How do I want to feel in 5 years from now? And I think that can be so helpful in terms of helping us make decisions in our life. And then I will also say, as a physician, that's a really helpful question when people, especially young people, are being flooded with so much misinformation about health. And it can be so confusing. You hear one thing one day, another thing the other day. But like ultimately, how do I want to feel can really be an important guiding post.
Love it. I want to thank you personally, as well as the rest of the team here at Sustainable Success, for taking time out of your day to be with us here today, sharing your personal insights, your journey, your vulnerability. We greatly appreciate and so grateful for you to be on the show. I want to leave, this little time now where you can now let the audience know what is the best way to get in contact with you, anything that you're up to that you'd like to share with them, anything you'd like to provide our audience.
Thank you. So my name is Lauren Hartman, MD. So I think you could probably Google and find my medical practice there. I practice in California. So if anyone's in the area and needs support for our adolescent or young adult, I'm happy to provide support. And then I have an Instagram, which is Lauren Hartman, MD. And then my book, Freeing Children and Young Adults from Shame, Scales, and Stigma, is going to be published March 11th. And you can get that wherever you buy your books.
That's awesome. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, that type of thing, and maybe your website as well. Yeah. And we're going to make sure, everybody, all of that will be in the show notes as well. So no matter where you listen to the show, whether if it's Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeart, YouTube, in the description, all of that information for Lauren's, contact information will be there. And for any reason you reach out to us, we'll make sure to connect you as well to Dr. Lauren. Dr. Lauren, thank you so much again for being with us.
Thank you so much. This is such a fun conversation. I'm excited to have it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Sustainable Success. Again, remember, we have a new format now with video. We're now 30 minutes long. We wanted to make sure we adapted to how people absorb content. And 30 minutes is where it's at. So that's what we did to make sure we met your needs and requirements. Moving forward, we are committed to bringing in subject matter experts like Dr. Lauren in each and every week, sharing their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate you on a personal, professional level to obtain sustainable success in your life and business. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week. And again, we'll see you next Friday, 12 noon East Coast time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Till then, have a great day. Take care.